Good afternoon, everyone. This is your girl Love Wisdom live from home. Remember, you have the winning hand. Play it accordingly. If you're thinking of a master plan, never tell people your blueprint. Always show them your results. I would like to extend my condolences to the family of Neely Fuller Jr., who passed away today at 96 years old. For those of you who don't know, Neely Fuller Jr. is an author of the United Independent Compensatory Code System and Concept, a compensatory counter-racist code. And it really was a guidebook in how to adapt and how to succeed in this system. One of Neely Fuller's quotes was back in 1971. If you don't understand white supremacy, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. I don't like to use the word white supremacy because in my mind, I don't believe that no one, regardless of race, is supreme. I do understand, however, the racist system that's been put in place. And that in order to succeed, you have to adapt. You cannot be emotional or reactionary. You have to be strategic and proactive when it comes to dealing with this system. And the compensatory code book really opened my eyes to racism and how it works. It goes beyond race, so to speak. It goes beyond black, white, and Asian. It is really a system that encompass, as Dr. Claude Anderson would say, the 5 pillars of wealth. Racism accompanies the media because the media is what we see and what we hear. He who controls the narrative gets to tell the story. Racism is in politics. That's how laws and bills and things are passed to either protect you, right, or disarm you. It either benefits you or is at your detriment. Racism is in education. What you're being taught about who you are and how you interact with other people and how those people feel about you based on your history, what's being taught. We talk about the school to prison pipeline all the time. Racism is a component of that. Racism is also in economics. How your money is spent. You're the consumer. What products go to certain people versus what doesn't. So, and I forgot the other pillar. It's on the tip of my tongue, but it'll come back to me later on. But racism encompasses those pillars. And we have to be able to understand what's in front of us as a people. Right now, as a race, we're so lost and so far gone. I'm just going to be honest. Most of our people just not going to make it. And I say that because even when you try to have a productive conversation about solutions, there's always people who got to jump in and derail the conversation. It becomes about entertainment. It becomes about irrelevant things. We go into this Wakandan fantasy about history, and Neely Fuller made it plain. History is about reviewing the mistakes of the past so you don't repeat them again. We look at history as some sort of a celebratory run where you need to look at the mistakes. Other groups of people look at the mistakes of the past so they don't repeat it. Let me give you an example of the Israelis. We know most of them their descendants were from the Holocaust. 1939 to 1945, under Nazi Germany rule. They were sent to concentration camps, whether it was Sabor, Bergen-Belsen, whether it was Auschwitz. Thousands of Jewish people were killed every day. Their homes were confiscated. They were thrown into ghettos. And when the war was over, and the United States and the United Kingdom gave them Israel, and they made Israel their home, Mossad was created. And Mossad was basically Israeli intelligence. If you ever seen the movie by Steven Spielberg, Munich, it gives you a perfect example of what Mossad was. And the slogan was never again. Never again will they be persecuted in the way that they were persecuted. The Jewish people created organizations to protect them. They created their own communities, hospitals, law enforcement, education. They adapted to a system that was against them. Now, Jewish is not a race, it's a religion that anybody can practice. Okay? The Jewish people that we see today as Israelis, they weren't considered white. They weren't. Especially under the Third Reich, they were not considered white. All right? So let's use it from that standpoint. They took that, and look how powerful they are today, because they said never again will this happen to us again. Whether you agree with their tactics or not, you cannot deny never again. They've adapted to a system that was against them. Look at the Asian community, the Japanese, the Chinese, the Koreans. Down the line, there was colonization. There was European influence. The anti-Chinese laws in the United States. But they adapted to the system, and look at the Asian community today. We have Chinatown, Little Tokyo, Koreatown, Little India, Little Manila. They've adapted to a system that was against them. They looked at the mistakes of the past, and they circumvented that to their advantage. You can like Mao Zedong or hate him. There was a reason why there was a cultural revolution. As Black Americans, where we had the biggest advantage over everybody else, we constantly drop the ball, because instead of us looking at the mistakes and making a strategic plan to be better, we capitulate in such a way that it's self-loathing. We blame it on the racist system. We blame it on the elders that passed away. The ancestors that passed. We blamed it on the elders. And we failed to realize the elders and the ancestors walked so we can run. They gave us the blueprint for us to adapt and press forward. Neely Fuller said it best. Black people too serious about not being serious. Look what's going on right now with DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, which didn't benefit us at all, only 4%. And even with that 4%, they weren't bringing other Black Americans on because they didn't want to look like they were radicals. It didn't benefit us, but Black Americans are the main ones complaining and yelling and screaming about DEI. DEI benefited white women the most. Do your research. Just like affirmative action benefited white women the most. We're complaining about things that don't benefit us. We are more concerned, in the words of Ed Butts, because I have to include black women in this too. We're concerned about looking good, fucking, and having a warm place to stay. We have gotten so shallow and so into our own hype, we don't realize how dangerous and foolish we look. We're airing all our dirty laundry online. We have unrealistic expectations. We want love. We want protection. We want stability. We want provision, but we don't even believe that in ourselves. Same thing for the men. You want someone to love you and heal you and nurture you and respect you, but you don't have that qualities for yourself. The bloodshed that black men and women have spilt in the black community is absolutely insane. Look at our communities. But we have black politicians that look like us and don't do anything to rebuild and resuscitate the communities, but they're all for gentrification. No different on the plantation, where we don't want all these niggas around here. We want new niggas around here. Y'all gotta go. So they'll be there in this system to price you out. All under the guise of vote for me because I'm black. But that's all they can offer is the race and the color of their skin. But they can't offer you no context, and we vote and vote and vote and vote. But we too serious about not being serious. It was Dr. Frances Quest Welsing who warned black women, because I have the ISIS papers. She warned black women back in 1973, if I'm not mistaken, about black women moving forward in the 21st century. And she said black women need to be careful and stop laying up with men who have not proven themselves to be protectors and providers. And black women to this day are still laying up with men who have made it very clear that they're not going to do anything for them. And you're producing children who are mentally and emotionally unstable because there is inequality there. You can't focus on being the mother that you need to be because you're heartbroken over that man who walked out on you. Now you got to be in your masculine role and try to raise these kids or this child in an environment that's already against them. Because instead of us adapting like everybody else, we capitulate to where we're crumbling and falling. Now we online chasing the man down for Pampers, but you knew he wasn't about nothing, but you laid up with him. Dr. Wilson said, stop coddling your sons. You're coddling your sons with no emotional stability, no conflict resolution skills, but you raise your daughters to be hyper independent. Imbalance. We have everything we need. Everything we need to be successful and adapt in this life as a race, as a people. We do. But until we give a damn about ourselves enough to say we can do it, we're going to always be at the bottom. In 25 years, we'll be in 2050. Our net worth will be at zero. not individually, collectively, which means we will be slaves. And I'm not talking about literally like you're, oh my God, ball and chains on the plantation. No. Slaves meaning your bread and butter, your entire livelihood is dependent on other people, like it is now. But in 2050, there will be no chance for us to get out of that. And other races, Asian in particular, they understand this concept. That's why they've outwaged white people. Because the Asian man understands he got to lead his people to self-sufficiency. Yeah, Trump is putting tariffs on China. You think that's going to hurt China? No, China has their own cars, their own businesses. They're not wholly dependent on America. If China get into a little conundrum, you got South Korea and Japan right there. You got India, you got Taiwan. So the Asian community is not hurting. We are hurting because it's only us. And instead of us working together, or at the very least, promote other Black Americans that are working together, no. Because it's too much, get your hand out my pocket. We got to change, and it starts with our mindset. And another tad bit, whether it was Dr. John Henry Clark, Dr. Amos Wilson, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing, and now we have Dr. Neely Fuller Jr. For Black liberation, it's a very, very difficult hill to climb. You're not going to get rich. When we look at Malcolm X, we look at Dr. Martin Luther King, we look at Fred Hampton, we look at Stokely Carmichael. These people were not rich by any form of fashion. They were not rich. Right? We have to be very careful of who we cast our lot with. Revisionist history is over. You want to know? Read a book. Look at a lecture. It's time that we start to see things for what it is and start adapting, right? You got to adapt to the system. You're not going to fuck your way out of it. You're not going to debate your way out of it. You're not going to cry your way out of it. Black people are in every single position of power in the United States. And look how they fumble it, because it's a mindset thing. It's not about helping my people. It's about me saying I was the first. I'm this, I'm that. You see Jasmine Crockett being a whole plum duck fool, and everybody like, yeah, girl, go, sister. But what is she doing to help her community? She likes being able to tell white women off. She likes to be able to stick it to Trump. But at the end of the day, who's paying her? Who has power over her? She's not adapting, she's capitulating. But every now and again be sassy. That's not a good look for us. Clarence Thomas, Ketanji Jackson, they're Supreme Court judges. I'm the first. What are they doing for their constituents? What? So guys, that's just my little remembrance, little rant. I'm just saying this. You either get right or you get left. You either gonna adapt to the system or you're gonna break down in the system. We have our neighborhoods, we have our communities. It needs to be resuscitated, it needs to be fixed. You have people that's willing to do it. Are you going to support these people? Or are you going to talk about how the men ain't shit, how the women ain't shit, but at the end of the day, if I fuck, we all going to fuck. Like, black people, at this point, is it the white man at this point? Not at all. Is it the Asian man? Not at all. It's us. So rest in peace to Neely Fuller. Rest in peace. Rest in peace. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. You guys get the compensatory code. It's a great read. This is not about being racist and hating other people. No, this is about adapting and succeeding and thriving in a system that was meant for you to fail. If everyone else can thrive in this system, so can we. That's it.